So let's jump right in. Have you ever heard that old saying, the more corrupt the state, the more laws it has? It sounds totally backward, right? But what if it's true? What if piling on more and more rules is actually a sign that something is seriously wrong underneath the surface? This quote it hits the nail on the head. Think about it. It's saying that laws are basically just band-aids. We slap them on when the real ethical core of a society starts to crack. And the more things fall apart, the more band-aids we desperately try to stick on everything. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Hold on a second. Aren't laws the whole point? Aren't they supposed to be the very thing that stops corruption? I mean, that's what we're always told, right? They're the good guys, the clear-cut rules designed to keep everyone honest and stop people from abusing their power. But, and this is the crazy part, it's a total paradox. In a system that's already shaky, just throwing more rules at the problem can actually make things 1,000 times worse. The very thing you think is the cure, it can end up fueling the disease. So how on earth does that even happen? Well, first off, when you have a mountain of complicated laws, you're practically creating loopholes for clever people to exploit. Second, the laws can get so specific that they actually narrow the definition of what corruption even is, which means a lot of shady stuff gets a free pass. Then, you give officials a ton of power to interpret these confusing rules however they want. And the cherry on top? The whole justice system gets so bogged down and expensive that holding anyone accountable becomes a complete nightmare. You know, it all boils down to this really simple but powerful formula. Corruption equals a monopoly on power, plus the discretion to make your own calls, minus any real accountability. And think about it. When you just keep adding more and more complex laws, what do? You give officials more discretion to interpret them, and you make it way harder to hold them accountable. You're literally feeding the beast. And this is where we see the path forward. Look at the two sides here. On one hand, you have the more laws approach. It's all about just following rules, which leads to complexity and all those loopholes we talked about. But on the other side, you have ethical governance. That's not about just following rules. It's about real accountability, total transparency, and just plain old integrity. It's a completely different mindset. So, this really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? When we look at a system that's just drowning in regulations but is still fundamentally broken, have we been asking the right questions all along? Maybe, just maybe, the answer isn't writing one more law. Maybe the real solution is building a culture of integrity. What do you think is more powerful?